The man who believed he was untouchable, the one we all believed could do no wrong, lost everything in front of the world. He stood there exposed as the walls collapsed around him. And Chrissy, you won't even recognize her after this. What if I told you that everything you believe you know about Jim Jones and Chrissy is a complete lie? Yes, you heard me correctly. Cameron, the same Cameron we all know, just destroyed everything they've built in one move. He entered that courtroom and tore apart their idyllic little world, and you won't believe the secrets he just revealed. Could get away with it no longer. Do you really believe that Chrissy was the mastermind behind all of this? Do you really believe that Jim Jones was unaware that the truth is much worse than you think? Cameron just revealed a scandal that will leave you stunned. What happens when the people you trust publicly betray you and everything you've worked so hard to build comes tumbling down? This isn't just another celebrity scandal. It's the scandal of the year. Are you prepared to be astounded? Stay tuned, because this is just the beginning. It seemed as though everyone was waiting for the next piece of the puzzle to fall into place. Would Melly walk free, or would the evidence against him be too overwhelming? The video footage that hatched was what everyone had hoped for. It was blurry and inconclusive, showing two figures in a car that could have been Melly and his alleged co-conspirator, Bortlen. But the lack of made it impossible to definitively identify them. The trial was becoming more complicated, and the public was no longer just following it. They were obsessed with it. However, the prosecution wasn't backing down either. They seized on the footage, pointing out that even though it might not be crystal clear, it still placed Melly at the scene at a crucial time. Which was even more troubling for the prosecution. The defense team seized on this uncertainty, arguing that the footage was too vague to hold any real weight in court. They claimed that it was just another attempt to confuse the jury and create doubt. A tactic designed to sway public opinion rather than present a factual account of the events. As if things couldn't get any worse, Melly's longtime friend and co-defendant Bortlen finally made his move. Rumors had been circulating for weeks about a potential plea deal, and now it seemed to be about to happen in court. Melly's defense was the revelation about his past, as several former associates came forward to claim that Melly had made veiled threats before the murders took place. According to them, Melly had expressed anger and frustration about being betrayed, and some even claimed that he had threatened to take matters into his own hands if things didn't go his way. The courtroom was on fire. Tension was evident, and Bortlen's defense team confirmed that he was negotiating with the prosecution for a reduced sentence in exchange for testimony against Melly. This was a devastating blow to Melly's case because Bortlen had been the last line of defense for his story, and now that he might flip. The prosecution had an insider with intimate knowledge of the events leading up to the murders. Speculation and fear were running high as Bortlen's move sparked a wave of speculation and fear that his best friend was going to betray him for a lighter sentence. Of the rapper were in shock, and the Free Melly movement appeared to be waning, as more and more people began to doubt his innocence, but it didn't end there. A former member of Melly's inner circle came forward and claimed to have direct knowledge of Melly's involvement in the murders. The whistleblower, who was given anonymity for their protection, claimed to have been present during the aftermath of the killings, to have seen Melly discard evidence, and to have had private conversations with Melly confessing to them about the specifics of the murders. This was explosive and appeared to confirm the worst fears of those who thought Melly was guilty. The defense, of course, attempted to discredit the whistleblower by claiming that they were just all ex-associates seeking attention and money. But the testimony and the mounting number of witnesses against Melly were beginning to paint a troubling picture, and with each new piece of evidence, the walls were closing in on him. Then the final blow came in the form of a leaked recording of a conversation between Melly and his lawyer that seemed to indicate that Melly was worried about the case's outcome. Of entering a guilty plea to lesser charges, avoid a life sentence. The recording was devastating. If Melly was really considering a plea deal, it would indicate that he was willing to admit guilt, which could be sufficient to permanently change the jury's verdict. The prosecution quickly took advantage of the recording, presenting it as evidence that Melly knew he was guilty and that he was attempting to avoid the consequences of his actions by striking a deal. The defense, of course, denied the recording's authenticity, but by that point the damage had been done, and the public was now doubting every aspect of Melly's case. We're divided, with some continuing to support him and asserting that the system was biased against him and that he was the victim of a vast conspiracy. Others, however, began to question whether the evidence against him was accurate and whether Melly was actually capable of the crimes for which he was charged. As the trial came to a close, everyone's thoughts were divided. Would Melly be free or face life in prison? The legal drama had become a worldwide spectacle in their opinions. The world appeared to be watching for the final verdict on whether Melly was guilty or innocent, but even as the case reached its climax, the most shocking development of all occurred when Melly testified in defense during the trial's final stages. His testimony was emotional as he denied any involvement in the murders and insisted that he was innocent. He discussed his upbringing, his struggles, and how he had always tried to do the right thing. The moment was intensely personal and emotional, and it appeared to influence some attendees. But was it enough? The world would soon learn whether Melly's passionate plea to the court was sufficient to persuade the jury that he was innocent. As the trial came to a close, the jury deliberated and everyone held their breath, wondering if Melly would be found guilty or if he would walk free as a free man again despite the overwhelming evidence against him. Regardless of the outcome, one thing was certain: this case had changed everything. The YNW Melly story wasn't just about a murder trial. It was about a system, a celebrity, and the world of fame and fortune colliding in ways no one had ever anticipated. The stage was set for the final act. Would the truth ever come to light? We're going to find out, because the drama between Jim Jones and Chrissy isn't just about personal betrayal. No. This is a full-on public meltdown. Let's dive into the mess that's making waves on social media and beyond. When Cameron took the stand, he wasn't just talking about financial manipulation or controlling relationships. He exposed an empire built on lies, deception, and manipulation. However, the worst part is that when the truth comes to light, you might not be able to control the situation. Jim and Chrissy's ship is slowly sinking because Cameron didn't drop all of his bombs in the courtroom, according to the court documents that Cameron allegedly had in his possession. The documents are now in the hands of investigative reporters. It's shocking because, for starters, Jim wasn't the only person who made decisions regarding his career and finances. Rather, Chrissy, yes. The woman who has gained notoriety as Jim's ride or die was secretly pulling all the strings behind the Cajuns. Behind the scenes, when it came to the money, the real wealth they were accumulating, Chrissy had her hands all over it. She was allegedly the mastermind behind everything that had to do with their business dealings. And we're talking about more than just a couple of endorsement deals here. We're talking about offshore accounts, shell companies, and a network of hidden assets that only she could access. Jim may have been the one in front of the cameras rapping and energizing the crowd at his concerts, but she was the one making the big decisions, managing the money, and forming the story of their relationship. A few people were aware of this, and while Jim was busy concentrating on his career and believing that Chrissy had his back, Cameron wasn't finished yet. In fact, he took it to a whole new level when he began discussing the negative aspects of their relationship. According to unnamed sources familiar with the matter, Chrissy wasn't only in charge of Jim's money. She was also involved in managing his public image. Every decision he made, every agreement he signed, everything was planned by Chrissy to preserve the image of the ideal couple they had created over the years. Now, let's discuss the money laundering component of this situation because, believe me, the worst part is that it wasn't even an error. Rather, it was a carefully planned scheme to conceal their wealth and keep it out of the public eye. Cameron wasn't about to let them get away with it, exposing everything in that courtroom, from Jim and Chrissy's alleged involvement in some dubious financial transactions, according to sources. By dubious, I mean that illegal funds intended for their business were being channeled through hidden accounts, okay, into shell companies and allegedly even used for personal expenses unrelated to their careers. The couple's dark secrets, according to those same anonymous sources, didn't end there. From the beginning of their relationship, Chrissy had been using Jim as a pawn in her complex game to secure wealth and power. It wasn't just a love story gone wrong. It was a calculated scheme to take control of Jim's life and future. And let's not forget that Jim Jones isn't just any ordinary celebrity. He's a rapper, businessman, and well-known figure in the hip-hop industry. This situation isn't just about financial manipulation or relationship drama. It's also about public perception. And that's where things get interesting. As soon as Cameron revealed the truth about what was truly happening, the public had a field day on social media, with fans turning against Jim and Chrissy in a way that was almost poetic. Jim built his career, put in the work, and made a name for himself. But behind closed doors, Chrissy was quietly making decisions that were his every move. Was everything we saw on TV just a lie? Was their relationship all for show? Cameron's response was yes. Then came the part that really hit home. Jim Jones was no longer in charge once the courtroom revelations went public, and his empire began to fall apart. No one knew who to trust anymore, not even his closest allies who had once supported him. The shockwaves that hit the internet were palpable, and everyone from hip-hop fans to casual observers began digging into their past, pulling up every dubious move they'd made, began to withdraw, wondering if they had been duped by Chrissy's carefully crafted lies. The betrayal was genuine, and the damage was undeniable. But the question that everyone has is, where will Jim go from here? The truth is that the damage caused by these revelations may be irreparable. Yes, Jim is a fighter and a survivor, but it isn't just about a feud with Cameron or some made-up drama for TV. It's about his entire public image being shattered by someone he trusted most, and worse, he's lost control of the narrative. With the public now doubting everything he has ever said and done. Now, if you think that things are bad for Jim, wait until you see how Chrissy is handling everything. After everything that has been made public, she isn't exactly winning popularity contests. And fans and even some of her friends are beginning to see her for who she really is. The backlash will only get worse, but we're only just beginning. The public fallout is just getting started, and trust me, it isn't going to be a short-lived scandal. The more people talk about it, the more secrets will surface. Now that we've delved into the mess, the scandal, and the public chaos, let's talk about the aftermath, because that's where things get even more intense. The courtroom drama, the lies, and the financial secrets are just the beginning. The real consequences are just beginning to unfold. First of all, Jim Jones's public image is in ruins. You know how the internet operates. One mistake, one leak, one bombshell revelation. And then all of a sudden, this man went from being a respected figure in the hip-hop community to being the target of mockery and rumors. When your entire career has been built on loyalty, street cred, and respect, having your closest allies turn against you is like having been stabbed in the back by the very people who were supposed to support you. However, the worst part is that his career isn't just personal, it's also professional. His music is barely making a dent on the charts. His brand is struggling. His tours have been scaled back. And ticket sales are nowhere near what they used to be. It's no longer just about being a rapper with a few hits. It's about surviving the damage to your name. And trust me, it's going to take a toll that Jim won't easily recover from. This kind of scandal doesn't fade away quickly. In the meantime, Chrissy Lakin, she's not doing much better. In fact, if you associate with a man who is now publicly perceived as weak, manipulated, and possibly involved in shady dealings, let's face it, nobody in the hip-hop industry wants to be the next one exposed for doing business with a fraud. You thought her involvement in this drama would go unnoticed, but think again. She has been dragged through the mud alongside Jim. And worse, she may have started it all. However, now that she is being exposed as the true mastermind behind the deceit and manipulation, those feelings of a perfect couple were just that, feelings. Chrissy was allegedly running the show, pulling strings and using Jim as a puppet in a larger game of manipulation. The public may have been duped for years, but now she is the one facing the consequences. Manipulative figure, and her image is collapsing faster than a house of cards, but don't take my word for it. Let's talk about the fallout based on sources. And I'm talking about some real insider information here. Fans are demanding answers and holding Chrissy accountable for the way she managed Jim's finances and career. And let's not even get started on the internet trolls who are having a field day. Chrissy Exposed is trending, and every tweet, meme, and comment serves as a reminder that the public is done with her, and that she is no longer viewed as the devoted girlfriend supporting her man. She has been portrayed as a con artist who exploited her relationship for personal benefit. And that is a persistent narrative. Now, let's discuss the legal repercussions because, wow, things are getting serious. The courtroom drama revealed not only personal secrets, but also some serious legal red flags. We're talking about possible financial fraud, money laundering, and business deal manipulation. And when the law starts to sniff around, you can bet your bottom dollar that things will get messy. Anonymous sources indicate that the couple's financial transactions are currently being investigated by authorities. ALLEGEDLY investigating potential money laundering schemes, offshore accounts, and hidden assets. These are not merely accusations being made. Investigations are actually taking place. If the allegations are accurate, we may face serious charges such as tax evasion and even criminal conspiracy. This is not a trivial matter, people. However, Chrissy is not off the hook either. According to sources close to the situation, she is already planning to distance herself from Jim. You know what that means when the chips are down and the heat is on? The person who has been pulling the strings is usually the first to leave. Chrissy has been accused of using Jim's career as a springboard to build her own empire. But what happens if her empire starts to fail? You can bet that she does, and that's the next stage of the fallout. Sources are already stating that things are becoming ugly behind the scenes. It's just a personal breakup. It's a public and professional split that will have long-lasting effects on the couple's financial affairs, business endeavors, and relationship as a whole. Unraveling, and the tension is increasing every day. What does this mean for Jim and Chrissy's future? Well, we know that it will be a long and bumpy road, and nobody will soon forget the mess they've made. The public is watching them closely, so they better be prepared for what's coming next, because the truth always finds a way to surface. And in this case, it's already exposed for the world to see. Let's wrap up, shall we? And Chrissy thought they could fool everyone, but ultimately they only fooled themselves. That concludes today's explosive story. But believe me, we're not finished yet. We're just getting started with the drama, the lies, and the betrayal. This saga is about an empire built on lies and manipulation, and we're all watching as it all comes crashing down. Will Jim be able to pick up the pieces? Will Chrissy escape unscathed? Or will she be left holding the bag for everything she's done? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain. This scandal isn't going away anytime soon. Far from over. And you know you want to be the first to know what happens next. So here's your chance to join the discussion. What do you think will happen? Next, will Jim Jones recover from this huge scandal? Can Chrissy save her reputation? Or has she lost it all? Please share your thoughts in the comment section below. I know you have strong opinions about this. So let's see who is still on their side and who is ready to end their relationship. If you're shaken by all the twists and turns we've uncovered today, don't forget to like this video. If you want more juicy expos like that, hit that. We're always going above and beyond to bring you the true news you won't find anywhere else. So please click the subscribe button and enable the notifications. Don't miss what we have in store for you next, because the drama is just getting started. It's begun, and it's